Eamonn Holmes has always been more than just a familiar face on British television. He's a part of the nation's living room. The kind of man whose laughter could fill a studio, whose warmth could light up even the dullest morning. For decades, he's been the voice and smile people trusted to start their day. But behind that trademark charm, behind the witty remarks and polished professionalism, lies a story of struggle, raw, painful, and deeply human. You see, while the world saw Eamonn the broadcaster, sharp, confident, always ready with a clever quip, few saw Eamonn the man fighting battles away from the cameras, battles that would test his strength, his faith, and even his heart. It started quietly, almost invisibly. A dull ache in his back, a stiffness he brushed off as nothing serious. After all, he'd worked through worse. Early mornings, endless travel, the constant pressure of live TV. But this time, the pain wasn't leaving. It grew sharper, heavier, like a weight pressing down on him day after day. Doctors soon gave him the kind of diagnosis that can shake even the strongest spirit: a dislocated pelvis and 3 slipped discs. Imagine that, the man who once raced through studios, now struggling just to stand. In his own words, it's like someone sticking a knife in your leg and twisting it. Brutal, honest, and heartbreakingly human. Yet, in true Eamonn fashion, he tried to keep going. The show must go on, right? Even when walking became agony, he pushed through, appearing on air with a smile, leaning on his wit when his body wouldn't cooperate. Fans noticed changes, sure. He sat more often, joked a little less, but his warmth never faded. Then came the fall, a terrible accident at home that left him with a broken shoulder, as if life hadn't already tested him enough. Surgery followed, then long, painful months of recovery. For a man so used to movement, being confined to crutches and wheelchairs wasn't just physically painful, it was emotionally crushing. But here's the thing about Eamonn Holmes: he doesn't quit. He's built from that old-school Irish grit, the kind that doesn't let pain win easily. Even when he was told to rest, he found ways to keep working, showing up for GB News broadcasts when many wouldn't have. Every appearance was a quiet victory, a statement that said, "I'm still here." Of course, his struggles didn't end there. Behind the professional smiles, there was heartbreak, too. The emotional toll of his split from Ruth Langsford, his partner in both life and television for decades. Their chemistry had been legendary, teasing, tender, and filled with laughter. Even in separation, there's still affection there, a connection time and circumstance can't quite erase. Friends say Ruth still checks in, still worries about him, still cares. Because love like that doesn't just vanish. It lingers, quietly, like a soft song in the background. But pain, both physical and emotional, has a way of wearing down even the brightest souls. Some days, it's not just the body that hurts, it's the spirit. Sources close to Eamonn say there have been moments of deep frustration. Times when the simple act of walking across a room feels like climbing a mountain. Yet even on his darkest days, he finds reasons to keep going. His faith, his family, his children, who remind him that there's always something worth fighting for. And perhaps that's what makes his story so inspiring. Not the fame, not the years of success, but the quiet resilience behind it all. The courage to show vulnerability, the strength to say, yes, I'm struggling, but I'm still standing. Fans have noticed. Social media overflows with love, messages from people thanking him for his honesty, calling him an inspiration for those living with invisible pain. He's shown that strength isn't always about power or perfection. Sometimes it's simply about showing up, again and again, even when it hurts. Eamonn himself once said, "You can either give in or get up and carry on." And that's exactly what he's doing. Carrying on, laughing when he can, working when his body allows, loving life in all its imperfect glory. Because that's the real Eamonn Holmes. Strong, humble, charmingly stubborn, and endlessly human. A man who has faced pain, heartbreak, and fear, and still manages to find grace in the middle of it all. And as long as he keeps getting up, keeps smiling through the pain, the rest of us can't help but cheer him on, because his story reminds us that no matter how heavy life gets, there's always a reason to stand tall, take a deep breath, and carry on.